Hello. So we are discussing about class 12 biology human reproduction. This is the third chapter. In this video, we are going to discuss about the embryonic development. Embryonic development means what? This is precisely embryonic development. That is, when we talk about the fertilization, we have discussed in the previous video about fertilization process where the karyogamy take place, that is the fusion of male and female gamete take place. Immediately after fertilization, you get the zygote. This zygote starts undergoing division. As a result of the division of the cells, continuous repeated division when it takes place, it gives you a multicellular structure, which is initially called as morula, then blastula, and then gastrula. But in between, the stage of implantation take place, and the blastula, when it undergoes implantation in the uterus, remember, then only actually because of implantation, you start calling that red lady as pregnant. So we call it as pregnancy only when there is a successful implantation that has happened. Okay. Now, immediately after the fertilization takes place, the zygote starts undergoing repeated mitotic divisions. But these mitotic divisions are slightly different from what we see at the normal mitotic divisions, and they are specifically called as cleavage. Now, how are these cleavage different from our normal mitotic division? Very important to understand. First point is, this is an important discussion, that is a rapid cellular division take place and there is no cytoplasmic growth at all. Very, very important point, right? As a result of which, the overall size of the growing embryo does not increase in the initial stage. Later on, it will increase, but in the initial few divisions, it does not increase, right? Because remember, the embryo is surrounded by still a zona pellucida layer. Corona radiata will start getting degenerated, but zona pellucida is still present. Now, zona pellucida layer cannot increase in size, so inside the cells will also not increase in size as such. Now, also there will be rapid metabolic activity happening inside the cell, okay, and the cell size is reduced because cytoplasmic growth is not happening. To attain a optimum nucleocytoplasmic ratio, very important term to remember, also called as Kern plasma ratio, where the Kern basically means the nucleus and the plasma basically means the cytoplasm we are referring it to, and this is necessary so that the metabolic processes can be carried out in a proper manner. So in a particular cell, the genetic material will be more and comparatively the cytoplasmic content will be less, right? That's what is required at this point of time. That is why the nucleocytoplasmic ratio increases by not allowing the cytoplasmic growth to take place. Also very important, there is no cell-cell junctions. The junctions are absent, as a result of which the cells are independent of each other and they can move. They can move away from each other, and this is one important point to be remembered. Only during embryonic development, the cells have an ability to move. Once it becomes an adult, I mean, once the fetus is fully formed and it starts growing into an adult, once the tissues are fully formed, then the cells do not move away from the tissues, right? Unless there is a carcinogenesis or tumor formation. So that's an abnormality when cell-cell movement take place. Otherwise, cell-cell movement does not take place. Now, about the cleavage division, we call these cleavages as the holoblastic cleavage. The word holo basically means complete, okay? And the blast basically means the dividing cells, right? The cells which are dividing, they are formed as because of the result of what we call as complete division. This holoblastic cleavage may not be observed in such cells where yolk is present. Now, human egg is again without any yolk, so proper division can take place, complete division can take place. The daughter cells are specifically called as blastomeres. Remember, this is again a very important word to be remembered. There is the cells which are formed out of mitosis called as daughter cells are specifically known as blastomeres here, right? So immediately after karyogamy, that is fusion of male and female nucleus, when the division starts, cleavage starts, then a single cell zygote start dividing to give you 2-cell condition, 4-cell condition, 8-cell condition, and so on, right? So you can see in this diagram evident that the cell is dividing, but the overall size of the cell is not increasing. Are you getting the point? So important to remember that usually the first cleavage takes approximately 30 hours and 2 blastomeres are formed, but they are slightly unequal. Not very much unequal, but slightly unequal, meaning one blastomere is slightly larger than the other one. In that condition, what happens? The one which is slightly larger will first carry out the second cleavage, and after a small time gap, the smaller blastomere will divide. So in between, there is a transient stage, which is a 3-cell stage, right? Then the second cleavage will take place within around 20 to 30 hours. Both the blastomeres will undergo cleavage, giving you a 4 blastomere condition, right? Then the third cleavage takes another around 12 hours. And by that time, if you see 30 plus 30, 60 and plus 12 around 72 hours, by that time, you will see that the cell has undergone complete division to give you almost a 8-cell condition, right? Now, due to this continuous division, when you get a 8 to 16 cell condition, you get a solid ball of cell, which is called as morula. Remember, the size of morula is almost same as the initial size of the zygote, and it is not increasing. You can see this is a real picture of a morula, where this is the outer layer of what we call as zona pellucida. Fine. This is zona pellucida, and the inner, these are the cells which are continuously dividing. See, the division does not stop, it keeps on happening continuously. Fine. So it is still covered outside by the zona pellucida layer. Okay. Corona radiata cells, however, will degenerate, which are present outside the zona pellucida layer. Then outer layer of cells which are formed in this ball of cells, they are called as the outer peripheral cells, and they will be relatively smaller and flatter compared to the inner cells, fine. And they will start developing tight junctions among them. Tight junctions, do you remember what is its function? It prevents leakage of substances through the cells. However, the cells which are present towards the inner layer, they are called as inner cell mass. They are comparatively larger, rounded, and develop gap junctions. Gap junctions, do you remember what is its function? Gap junctions allows what? The cells to communicate or to exchange materials among them, right? So morula, it descends towards the uterus, right? In 4 to 6 days, it will start, it will reach uterus by continuous movement. So it is important to understand that while cell is undergoing division, it is also continuously moving. This happens because the inner layer of fallopian tube, there is a secretory activity, as well as the inner layer is made up of ciliated epithelium. So continuous movement of ciliated epithelium allows the cells to move through it. Did you get the point? So corona radiata by that time will detach, and by the time it becomes almost 32 cell stage, it will reach the uterus. Now you start calling it as a blastula or a blastocyst, right? 32 cell stage or beyond that, you start calling it as a blastula. Now within that ball of cell, there is a gap or a cavity which starts developing, right? This cavity is specifically called as blastocele. Now, if you remember what is the meaning of the word cele, it has come from coelom, that is cavity. Within blastula, you call it as a blastocele, right? However, you will see that as the morula will enter the uterus, it starts getting more and more nutrition. How? Because the endometrium they secrete a fluid, and this fluid is called as the uterine milk. Okay, so this fluid is nutritive in nature, and that's why there is a sudden growth, a spurt in the growth. Spurt means a sudden increase. A sudden increase in the growth takes place, giving you more and more cells. Thus, you get a whole ball of cell, and then in that ball of cell, a cavity develops. That's called as a blastocele. However, your outer layer of cells, that is here in this diagram, we can see it as this outer brown colored layer that we see that these cells are called as the trophoblast cells, right? And the other cells which are present inside, which are called as inner cell mass, they got pushed towards one side. Why? Because a cavity is formed here. So when they are pushed towards one side, they form what are called as the inner cell mass. Did you understand the point? Right? And they will soon be also known as another name, that is called as the embryonal knob. Okay, embryonal knob. Knob means again a knob swollen structure, and embryonal knob because it is going to develop into embryo finally. Clear? Now, what happens here is these cells, they will start moving away from each other, and that actually is the beginning of the process of gastrulation. But before we start discussing about blastulation, it is important that we understand about the process of implantation. So for implantation, understand that what happens is, if this is a real picture of a human blastocyst, so outer you have a zona pellucida layer which is still present. Then inside you have the trophoblastic layer. In this diagram, it is still very clearly understood that these layer of trophoblastic cells that we see here, these layer of trophoblastic cells are specifically called as the cells of Robber. So these are those trophoblastic cells which are in contact with the embryonal knob, right? And we can divide the area into two halves. This part is called as the animal pole or the embryonal pole towards the embryonal knob, and the opposite side will be called as abembryonal pole. Okay, or sometimes also called as a vesical pole. In human blastula or blastocyst, we normally call this as abembryonal pole. Fine. Now this embryonal knob here, I told you, no, the cells start moving away from each other. It starts developing into a disc-shaped structure, and that is the beginning of the gastrulation process. That's called as an embryonal disc. So that we'll discuss in the gastrulation part. Before that, let us understand how implantation takes place. Looking back at the time span, we said that in around 72 hours, that is around 3 days, it acquires an 8-cell condition. By 3 to 4 days, it will reach the uterus because it has been moving also. Fine. Once it is in the uterus, it will continue to grow within the zona pellucida layer, but slowly, since the cells are increasing in number, so the zona pellucida layer, there will be pressure on it, right? As a result, the zona pellucida layer will rupture, right? So when zona pellucida layer will rupture, then it will come out of the zona pellucida. Also, your blastocyst, because it is putting pressure on the zona pellucida and releasing certain trypsin-like enzyme, very important. So further corrosion of the zona layer takes place, thereby allowing the entire developing blastula to come out of it. Fine. Around 7th day of fertilization, it will start undergoing the process of implantation. Look at the diagram, you will understand. This is the blastula or the blastocyst. This is the cut section. This part is the animal pole, that is the embryoblast or the inner cell mass is present. From this side, it starts getting into the endometrial wall. This is the endometrial wall, correct? First, as soon as the trophoblast layer, they come in contact with the endometrial wall, fine, they will release the enzymes which will start breaking down the endometrial wall, fine. Also, they will give some projections. You can see these projections are formed, which are called as the villi. Okay, so those villi will allow the interdigitation of this blastula into the endometrial wall. Interdigitation means it will get embedded by forming some digit or projections into the endometrial wall, right? That helps the developing blastula to get adhered to the uterus wall, right? Then uterine wall will start breaking down and it will allow some amount of bleeding to take place, which is normally called as implantation bleeding. This could be a visible symptom for a layman to understand that there is implantation that has happened, and from that time onwards you can consider the female as pregnant. But remember, it is not very significant, it may be or may not be visible, fine. So implantation bleeding may be sometimes observable, sometimes may not be observable. However, uterine cells at the same time will start proliferating rapidly because they have been destroyed by the trophoblastic cells. And when they proliferate, they will finally cover up the entire growing embryo within the endometrium. Thereby, entire embryo in this way get embedded within the wall of the endometrium. And that's the completion of the process of implantation. Right? You look at this flowchart once, blastocyst comes in contact in the endometrium in the region of embryonal disc. So this is the embryonal disc, so blastocyst come in contact with the wall of endometrium, fine. It adheres to the uterus, fine, and usually at the fundus region, but it may also grow in the body part. There is no such specificity. Uterus will start breaking down the uterine tissue layer, that is endometrial tissue layer. They start breaking down, giving you implantation bleeding. They break down mainly because the trophoblasts, they release certain enzymes. Okay. Then the uterine cells will proliferate fast and they will fully cover the entire blastula, and then you call it as pregnancy. This is the overall process. That is, if we see from here, that is the ovulation, oocyte is there, the sperm has come, fertilization took place, the two male and female pronuclei, and then this is the zygote at this stage, right? After first cleavage, 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, then 8-cell stage. By day 3 or 4, you can see it has reached the uterus. By day 4, it has reached the uterus. You can see it is still a white layer that you can see surrounding is zona pellucida. You observe here carefully, this is the zona pellucida layer from which it has now come out. By rupturing the zona pellucida layer, it has come out. So it has now started entering into the endometrium. By 8-9 days, around by 10th day, implantation should get over within the endometrial tissue. So that is implantation over. Then starts the process of gastrulation. But before that, we will further see that when trophoblasts are continuously secreting the lytic enzymes and corroding the endometrial wall, at the same time, trophoblast is also giving rise to those projections called as villi. Right? These villi are formed from the trophoblast, so you call it as trophoblastic villi. You can see in this diagram, these villi, finger-like projections which are formed here, like small finger-like projections you can see here, it is forming, and some finger-like projections are forming here also, which are outside, right? And these finger-like projections or villi are larger than the other ones, which these are small. Are you getting it? But it is present throughout the surrounding entire growing fetus. These villi are formed. Fine. This later on in the next video we discuss about fetal membrane development. Then this trophoblast gives you a membrane called as chorionic membrane. So that is why we also call these villi as chorionic villi. Like I told you, they help in interdigitation into the uterine tissue, which helps in not only fixation but also in absorption of nutrients. Now, by this, what we are seeing is from the fetus, this villi, okay, is getting associated with the uterus, correct? Is getting associated with the uterus endometrium, and therefore this part of the uterus which is associated with the trophoblastic villi is called as the decidua. Remember this particular word. Decidua is the part of the uterus which is getting associated with the fetus, right? Which mainly constitute the endometrium and a part of myometrium also. Now this decidua is divided into a further 3 layers: decidua basalis, capsularis, and parietalis. Bacillus is the underlying portion of chorionic villi and overlying portion of myometrium. Means this part of the endometrium is decidua. See, this layer is the myometrium layer. Fine. This is the myometrium that is made up of the smooth muscle tissue, and this part is actually the endometrium layer. And out of this endometrium layer, what you can easily see is that this part of the endometrium, which is associated with the villi, this part is called as your decidua bacillis. Right? However, you can see that a part of endometrium is associated with these small villi also. Right? They are not fully functional villi, but they are still helping in getting interdigitated with the endometrium tissue. So here also you have some endometrium tissue now, where the villi are interdigitated. So that endometrium tissue is called as the decidua capsularis. And then there is a part of endometrium which is not associated with the fetus at all. That is this part of the endometrium. This is the uterine cavity. This part is the uterine cavity, right? Nowhere it is mentioned, so I am writing here. This is actually the cavity of the uterus. Correct? I hope you are able to visualize the picture properly. It is called as the uterine cavity. On surrounding the uterine cavity, you have the endometrial tissue. So when it entered the endometrial tissue and it started growing, that is, the fetus started growing, then a part of endometrium is pushed towards this side where interdigitation took place. This is part of endometrium which is going to function as a placenta soon. Okay, it is developing the placenta along with chorionic villi, and this is the part of endometrium which is not involved in anything. So that part of endometrium is called as the decidua parietalis. Try to understand. This trophoblast will start secreting human chorionic gonadotrophin, very, very important hormone, in short called as HCG. Fine. Within around 2 days of implantation, the HCG secretion starts. Fine. HCG is human chorionic gonadotrophin, which is similar to luteinizing hormone LH. Therefore, how the LH act on corpus luteum, similarly HCG is acting on corpus luteum and making what is called as the corpus luteum of pregnancy. Fine. And this corpus luteum is continuously going to secrete progesterone, which is called as pregnancy hormone, because throughout the pregnancy the progesterone is going to be secreted, which will maintain the endometrial lining and thus prevent the menstruation process. Okay. I don't know if you have ever seen, but this is how a pregnancy detection kit appears. Right? If you get an opportunity, maybe in TV ads and all, they sometimes show. What happens here is the initial detection of pregnancy within around 20 days of fertilization, if at all fertilization has taken place, 15 to 20 days of fertilization. What happens is this HCG starts developing very fast. More and more HCG will develop. When more and more hormone develops, then those hormones starts getting secreted into the into the blood. So through the blood, it starts coming out into the urine, excess. So then if the HCG is present in urine, a small drop of urine put in this particular point here can allow the urine to pass through a small capillary tube here inside, and it reaches this area where certain reagents are present that reacts with HCG and gives you a strip like this. Right? If at all the strip is present, you can understand that it is a positive pregnancy because HCG is present. If it is not there, you can see, then you can say that it's a negative pregnancy. There are two strips drawn. This strip corresponds to control. Okay, that is how it should look like. And this strip corresponds to the test. So control will always be present, positive or negative, but test will give you positive only if the pregnancy is present. It is negative means pregnancy is absent. Because this appears only when HCG is present. If HCG is present, that means the implantation has happened and trophoblastic villi has formed. In fact, it is released or secreted by the placenta. correct, which is formed by trophoblastic villi. Clear? That's why we said that the trophoblastic cells are actually secreting the HCG. And if trophoblast is there, placenta is formed, that means definitely the pregnancy is there. Correct? Implantation has happened successfully. After implantation, we continue the understanding of what is called as gastrulation. So gastrulation is the process during which what we call as a very important function or process known as morphogenetic movement take place. Okay, this morphogenetic movement is basically nothing but those embryonal cells, they start moving. Okay, the cells here starts moving. It's a cell movement actually. Now remember that these cell movements take place only during the process of this gastrulation. Once the tissues are formed, there cannot be any more movement that can be possible. Right? Yes, during the cancer formation, again these cells are formed. That's why many a times we say that this is somewhat similar to cancer process, carcinogenesis process, during which the cells, they suddenly get separated from the tissue and they start moving. But that does not happen in an adult normal tissue. Only during gastrulation process it can happen, right? So the cells of the embryonal knob, they are moving here, correct? And when they move, they form the germ layers, which are called as ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. In fact, if you remember, human beings are what we call as triploblastic organisms. So triploblastic means there are 3 layers of germ cells which are formed. Now this we will understand with a diagram here. Before that, the diagram and this table, we have to understand it together. Let us look at the diagram once, then I will go back to the table. This is just a schematic diagram as such, which shows that here fertilization is happening between the male and female pronuclei, and then the cells are dividing, multicellular stage, and here you can start observing 2 type of cells are forming, an outer layer called as trophoblast and inner layer is called as the inner cell mass. So these are the inner cell mass, right? Now what is happening to this inner cell mass? You can see it has come out of the outer what? Zona pellucida layer, right? Then you see this is trophoblastic layer. Here this brown colored one or light brown colored one, they are present, but these inner cell mass, they start differentiating. At the same time, you can see that trophoblastic cells are getting interdigitated into the uterine epithelium. So that is in the process of formation of the placenta. Those villi, etc., are forming. That process is going on, right? Now forget about uterine tissue. Just observe what is happening to the entire embryo here. So you can see on one hand, outer trophoblast layer is there, but these cells, inner cell mass, if you see, they have divided into 2 type of cells. One is called as an epiblast, other is called as a hypoblast, right? Now these epiblast cells and the hypoblast cells, they will continue to divide. We'll look at one by one. Hypoblast cells, while they are dividing, they start migrating. Can you see they have started migrating in this direction as well as this direction? As a result, more and more cells, when they are formed, they form a complete new cavity. Already there was a cavity. This cavity was a blastocele, right? This was initially the blastocele. So within the blastocele, another new cavity is formed. This cavity, you can call it as gastrocele also, okay, or you can call it as archenteron. Now this cavity is ultimately in future going to form what we call as the gut, right? This is normally called as archenteron, which is ultimately going to form what is known as gut. Now within these cells, which is called as the epiblast, you can see there also a cavity is forming, and this cavity in future forms what is called as your amniotic cavity, okay, that gives you the amnion layer and develops into amniotic cavity. Now from here what you can see is the cells slowly in between the these 2 layers, okay, there are more and more cells formed. You see here, acha, understand that this layer of cell is now called as endoderm. This is the first germ layer to be formed. Okay, this is the first germ layer formed. And The other cells which are there, so this is the endoderm, it's labeled. Other cells will develop into ectoderm, but some cells from this ectoderm, they divide and they start moving towards the endoderm, forming a new layer between ectoderm and endoderm. These cells which are there, they form what is called as the mesoderm. Right? So endoderm is one of the first layer, then second is your ectoderm, then third is your mesoderm layer which is formed. Try to understand this process. Okay, as it continues development, you can see this amniotic cavity is formed, right? And what were these layers? That is the endoderm, within which the yolk sac is formed. Okay, and also it will develop into the gut, that is your entire alimentary canal will be formed from here, right? These cells which were migrating, these newly formed cells, that is mesoderm, you can see they are fully forming a cover surrounding the entire structure. This layer of cells, okay, this colored cell that you see here, this is the mesoderm. It is also labeled, fine. However, within the mesoderm there is a cavity which is formed, fine. This cavity is forming in future the chorionic cavity, right? Outside, because now you can see, because of this cavity which is formed within mesoderm layer, okay, there is an outer layer of mesoderm, there is an inner layer of mesoderm. This outer layer of mesoderm, which is called as a somatopleuric mesoderm, inner layer of mesoderm is called as your splanchnopluric mesoderm. This outer somatopleuric mesoderm along with trophoderm gives you the chorion region, okay, chorion layer. And this one, that is splanchnopluric mesoderm along with this ectoderm layer, okay, this is together forming amniotic cavity. Amnion will be formed here, and here the cells of endoderm as well as mesoderm is going to form the yolk sac, the gut, allantois, all those things will be formed. So this, how the various fetal membrane develops, this will ultimately we'll discuss in the next video, where we discuss about the development of various fetal membranes. And also we will discuss about how this particular structure, they will develop into what is called as placenta, right? The placenta development. And here, these are the fetal membrane development that we will observe in the next video, right? So that was all about the gastrulation and the entire process of embryonic development through blastula, gastrula. In between, implantation also took place. Clear? So next video we will discuss about the fetal membranes, right? And then the placenta will develop, discuss, and then we will go to the parturition process. So that was all for this video. Thank you, students.